As leaders who are actively seeking to have a positive impact, leaders who genuinely want to understand and support their team members as individuals, we must expand our universe. We must engage with the world in ways that will help us view it through different lenses. So, what can we do to help us gain more of that perspective? Well, the first thing we can do as leaders, we can start by exchanging ideas with someone outside of our field of expertise. Because think about it. When was the last time you did that? When was the last time that you exchanged ideas with someone outside of your field of expertise? It doesn't happen that often. Reality is, people in the same field tend to read the same books, speak to the same people, attend the same conferences, and so we find ourselves living in this microcosm. And so we want to step out of that to gain more perspective. Because to keep growing as leaders, it's important to also engage in business conversations with those outside our field of expertise to learn more about how they operate their business, how they overcame their challenges. Yeah, for sure. The operational aspects of the day-to-day of running the business itself are probably not the same. And so that means that the exact solutions that they implemented probably won't work for your own organization. But at the same time, running a business has a lot of the same basics, and we run into a lot of the same challenges. And so even if the details don't quite apply in our own businesses, often just talking through the challenges with another business owner will help spark ideas. At least it'll help us brainstorm. It'll give us something to talk about, to focus on, to explore, and help our creative minds really come up with something different. So I would say try and find maybe a group, a business group of some sort to join, or a coach to speak to, just to get some fresh perspective. So another thing that we can do is, and this resource is right there, build time to get to know your team members. And so what do I mean by that? Well, whenever you have a meeting with a team member, take an extra moment to do some form of check-in. And that form of check-in is more in the spirit of getting to know them. So I'm not talking a check-in as in, where are your reports and what's the status on this thing? No. Who are they as people? What are they doing? What are they looking forward to as individuals? And try just to learn a little bit more. To building on that same idea, if you have a weekly meeting, try to incorporate part of it where the real purpose is to get to know each other a little bit better. And so have that opportunity for members to exchange with each other on a way that's more personal and that just shares more. And I'm not saying, sharing like, let's share everything that's happening in all aspects of our lives. But what I mean is maybe they'll share a meal that they made and maybe that's different. Or maybe they'll share an event that they're going to and that's specific to, where they are. So in getting that conversation going, even having two team members who disagree about something, and then have a very healthy conversation about what that might be. And in those instances, be the moderator it might be tempting to just jump in and just, share all the things too, and definitely share. I mean, as a leader, I think it's important to also share because you want the team to get to know you as well. And you bring something to the table, hopefully. So it's very important that you also share. But at the same time, try to not spend too much time talking and spend a lot of time listening and learning from the team members and learning how they view things and what they're interested in, their perspective, and that kind of stuff. Now, another way to get perspective, I think this one's maybe the more obvious one, experience other cultures and languages. Just traveling if when possible, and it doesn't have to be, just, okay, I'm taking vacation and traveling, but even traveling and working from elsewhere for a couple of weeks, a month, just taking the time to explore during off hours, just exploring and learning and absorbing. And maybe part of that could be learning a new language. Even if you just stay home and you say, hey, you know what? I've always had an interest in this language. Let's learn it. There are a lot of apps and all kinds of stuff that could help you learn that new language. And in doing so, you likely will be exposed to that culture, because as you start learning a new language, you learn how the language is built and how it differs from your own. And so it offers a very interesting perspective. Another thing is to explore foods, like especially if you're traveling, try local foods. But even in your own area, are there places that offer meals that are culturally different than yours, than your own culture? And that's one way to gain perspective as well, just to learn a little bit more. And even if you maybe don't have the time or the interest to learn a new language, what about reading translations of popular books from other countries? Because also that helps. There's usually description of how people live, description of environments. So even reading a novel that's been translating from another language that reflects a little bit the culture, they usually do. So spend a little bit time doing that will help open up as well. In the same vein, watch a foreign film. Watch some foreign films with the subtitles. If you really, really don't want to do the subtitles, do the dub thing. But the thing about subtitles that I think is really interesting is that you get to hear the rhythm of the language and the sounds. And so I feel that it helps, again, broaden our perspective. And just as an aside, I remember watching this particular movie, and I had a team member of that specific culture, and I was getting mixed messages. I wasn't really understanding. I felt like the person was disagreeing with me a lot. But what I discovered while watching movies from that person's culture and language, first language, was that there's certain body movements that were specific to their culture. And what that actually meant was that they did agree with me. But because it is different than my own reference point, I thought that it meant that they were disagreeing. And so that was an absolutely wonderful eye-opening moment. I was like, oh, that's what it means. And so I was able to bring it up and talk about it in a very positive manner, because I was like, oh, this is what it means. Look at what I uncovered. And so we had a wonderful conversation about it. And so that's one way that it could help, again, gain perspective. Because, at the end of the day, as the name implies, being a people-centric leader, it requires us to understand people. And so to be successful at it, to be that leader who has a positive impact on the team, who has a positive impact on clients, on organizations as a whole, on business as a whole. And maybe in a small way, having that positive impact on the way future leaders show up. Well, that demands that we develop, that we sustain and grow a leadership mindset that is other focused. It demands that we expand our own views on the world. It demands that we gain more perspective.